Hello everyone, welcome to CGTN's live streaming. I'm Galang here in Beijing. In early April, Indonesia's President-elect Prabowo Subianto visited China, and following that, a group of Indonesian scholars also came to China, visiting major cities such as Beijing and Shanghai. And here we're in Peking University, where they just finished a discussion on enhancing China-Indonesia cooperation. And following that, today we're very honored to be joined by scholars and professors from both China and Indonesia. So first, would you please say hi to our audience and introduce yourself?
Hi everyone, my name is Chen Sheng. I come from Chinese Academy of Social Sciences.
Hi everyone, I'm Evi Fitriani, Professor of International Relations from University of Indonesia, and I am also Indonesian Country Coordinator for ASEAN Plus 3. Nice to meet you all.
Thank you so much, both.
Hi there, I am Jayadi Hanan. I am an Associate Professor of Political Science at the Indonesian International Islamic University based in Depok, Indonesia.
Thank you, Professor Hana.
Hello everyone, my name is Sherry Chao Kong. I'm from Peking University. Thank you for having me.
Thank you so much for joining us. So I think my first question bumping into mind is that how was your trip? You've been to Beijing and Shanghai and several other cities. So what's your feeling, Professor Avi?
It was a very good and very important for me and very interesting trip from Shanghai, Xi'an and Beijing during these 9 days. We met not only government officers, but also academics, both professors and students, and also business community, and last but not least, the people, the academic community. So we also visit some area that a lot of people came on, such as mosques. We visit mosques every along the way. And also during the trip from Xi'an to Beijing, we took a high-speed train.
railway.
Yeah. So this is another good experience, because then we can sense the development along the way and how China already developed very rapidly. First time I came to China is 1998. That's the first time I came to China.
Oh, wow.
I went to Yan'an and Xi'an also at that time. Now when I come back to Xi'an, I could see the very rapid change in that city.
So it's a huge change.
Yes. So very pleased with this trip, and I meet a lot of good friends and very looking forward for following up cooperation.
That's very nice. What about you, Professor Hana?
Yeah, just like Professor Effie, I think this has been one of the very inspiring and insightful trip for me. Yes, I have been in China for several times. This one is the 4th time of me being in Beijing. And again, I could see from this trip that China's progress has been so advanced, to the extent that every time I met with some of the advanced enterprises here, I asked them how far behind Indonesia is behind you. But at the same time, I have a very good impression that China's progress, Chinese advancements is very rooted in your tradition. Everywhere we visited Shanghai, Xi'an, and also now Beijing, it seems to me that there is a big impression to me that China is trying to advance as far as possible, but at the same time, you don't want to lose your national characters. So every time, for instance, we visited museum, like National History Museum.
I see.
I thought that I would not be meeting some young people visiting there. But in fact, number one, the museum, which was talking about the ancient era of China, relating to the current progress, I saw a lot of crowds, a lot of young people. So it seems to me that China is very serious in connecting between your future, the current, and your ancient history, which is a very good way of making sure that you will be surviving in this very challenging world.
That's very insightful, very interesting. And Professor Kong, I know you hosted discussion for this afternoon. Tell us more about it.
Yeah, thank you. I think I was very much humbled and very much honored to have this group of distinguished scholars from Indonesia. Even if we go there, we probably won't have the luck to meet them all, but here we have all of them in one room, and they are very generous. Yeah, thank you so much
Thank you.
again
Thank you for
sharing
having us.
with us your insights and ideas. And the discussion was, I think, I hope you would agree with me. It was conducted in a very open and candid
100%.
way. And the best thing was that it wasn't like everybody agrees with
Yes,
what
yes.
everyone says.
So we have a discussion.
Exactly, and this is the opportunity we were all looking
Yes.
forward to,
Yeah.
that we could share our different ideas,
Yeah.
perceptions, analysis in a very open and friendly way, so that we can see each other's positions,
Yes.
understand each other better, and form some platform for collaboration. I think there were so many collaborative ideas popping up. Yeah, and many PhD theses and topics came up as well.
True,
Yeah.
true.
That's
Thank
very
you.
interesting
Yeah.
because we really need this kind of exchange between
Yes.
scholars
Yeah.
for the both countries. And then I know that, you've been to, you have even seen NEV projects and also artificial intelligence. There are also buzzwords for the China and Indonesia cooperation. So Professor Qin, I also want to ask you, from your perspective, what are some highlights of China-Indonesia cooperation?
I think we can expect more cooperation in sustainable development, like green industry, because we know that sustainable development is the latest consensus achieved by two leaders. And also China and Indonesia is trying to working on the energy conservation and emission reduction. And we both have these goals to achieve carbon neutrality in 2060. So I think we have may have a lot of opportunities to cooperate in the future.
Yes, like the dual carbon goals
Yes,
for China.
yes, yes.
So what about the green collaboration from your perspective when you visit, or like from your experience between China and Indonesia?
We went one of a company specializing in high tech of green energy and also green infrastructure, and it was very amazed us because they could create very quick and very advanced wind and solar energy, and also then also move to the battery. And this is, I think, the area that Indonesia and China could cooperate in the future, because Indonesia has a limited advancement in technology, especially for the renewable energy, despite the fact that we have a lot of potential in wind or solar and also in other sources. So I think it's very important that we can push academia and also company to collaborate in this direction, because both countries need this kind of collaboration for our future economic development.
I see, that's very insightful. And also I think a new energy vehicle is also another key point. So what about those?
Yeah.
What are the companies are like?
Yeah. First of all, I think we agree that green economy, green energy, green technology are the future of our life, right? And part of it is the EV, not EV, Professor EV, electric cars, right? So I think with the advancement that I have mentioned now being recognized in China, we saw in several companies that we visited, like Enterprise and then Huawei,
This morning,
which become the showcase of the advancement of China. I think China can be one of the role models of Indonesia, and I'm sure that you will be willing to help us in that. And I think there could be mutual benefit, particularly for instance in EV advancement. Indonesia, EV in Indonesia will be one of the future also, but the challenge is that EV in Indonesia is still in a very infancy. The industry of EV is in a very infant pace in Indonesia. For instance, the contribution of EV in Indonesia in terms of industry is only around 0.2% so far. But according to one of the surveys in an economic survey, Indonesian people, 70% of them are willing to have EV. So,
So
there is
70%
70% of
want to
270.
drive electric vehicles.
Yes,
Oh,
yes.
wow.
My husband will take to buy
As of
one.
now.
Oh my God.
But at the same time, you know, we need technology. But you also know that the nickel is one of the very important component of EV. And out of almost 100 million tons of nickel around all over the world, around 20% is from Indonesia. And I think with that, China can have a very good cooperation with Indonesia in developing this EV toward the, you know, the green technology and green economy in the future. So I think Indonesia needs your technology, needs your help, but with our resources finding, we can be cooperating with each other in the next 5, 10, or more in the future.
And you just talked about connecting the past and the future, right?
Yes.
The young generation. So I wonder, does the young generation in Indonesia, do they love EVs, or like, are they really in for the green trend? Like
Yes, yes. In fact, one of the public surveys in Indonesia, among young people, the X and Y and the Y and Z generation, millennial and post-millennial generations. One of the top concern among young people is about climate change.
oh wow, really?
Right?
Yeah.
So, what is the solution for the climate change? Green energy, green economy,
Cooperation.
right? Cooperation, and IoTs, and of course EV, right? So again, and remember, in Indonesia, young people is dominant.
Yeah.
The number of millennial and post-millennial generations in Indonesia is around 53 to 56%. So it's huge market, but also huge. It could be huge human resource.
Yes.
It boosting our green economy in the future between the two countries.
I was reporting the COP28 in Dubai last year, the climate conference, and I can really tell like how people from various countries, they're so willing to make it a global challenge, but at the same time to collaborate to
Yes,
tackle it.
yes, yes.
So that's really important issue. And Professor Kong, I know you've been specialized in digital economy, like especially the cooperation in this aspect. So tell us more, what's the potential for China and Indonesia to collaborate in this aspect?
Well, I think the potential, put it simply, is huge, and it's almost unlimited. And many collaborative projects are already underway. And these projects are not just at the industrial level. You know, we have many of the Chinese investors as well as the enterprises going to Indonesia, and they are already taking, some of them have already taken risks, or they have been part of the big players. And even at the regulatory level, putting aside the academics, even at the regulatory level, I think last year we received maybe 4 or 5 delegations from the Central Bank of Indonesia discussing related issues, including the deputy governor. She came this year to give a talk. Tell us about Indonesia's progress in terms of development, and digitalization is certainly a big part of it. It's important for Indonesia. It's also important for China as well as the rest of the world. I mean, we are all going digital, right?
Yes.
So and digital is not just in the field of financial sense, in terms of management, in terms of how we pay. We are talking about standardization of a QR code, and it's already going digital in Indonesia. Also, at the same time, I think it can benefit so many other aspects in terms of social economic development, in terms of job creation, in terms of a skill upgrading, in terms of mobilizing funds and capitals to really improve the allocation of different resources, and also even for education, for nutrition, for the overall development.
And to support SME, don't forget to support. A lot of.
In both countries, we have more than probably 95% of the enterprises are SMEs or micro, MS,
small and micro enterprises.
Yes.
And digitalization will benefit this particular group even greater, I think, because of
why digital can benefit them particularly? Like, how can they benefit more compared to their peers?
Well, I would just mention inclusiveness, but you please.
I think it's important because those who cannot access to maybe the starting point is because of the COVID. It started with the COVID, and because of this COVID, there are some blessing that the digitalization improves so quickly. And in Indonesia, digitalization is important because it gives a much bigger market for the product, and they can promote their product or sell the product much easier. In Indonesia now, young generation, especially my daughters, they just click on the Gojek, and they buy almost everything from the online. So this is, I think, important, and because this generation have a very behavior buying habit, right? Behavior. So it's important that we understand their character, and the digitalization is their future. So we just catch up with that.
And I think infrastructure is also a very important part of digitalization because you got really have the equipment to then make it happen. So how can China and Indonesia better collaborate in this aspect? Feel free if you want to.
Yeah, I think first is the digital infrastructure. And for the last 10 years, and Indonesia and China is mainly, our cooperation is mainly about the trade and the big, huge infrastructure. But from now on, I think we should focus on the digital infrastructure. And as you just mentioned, mainly of the digital economy, lack of the digital economy is because of the infrastructure. And now we often heard this popular word called computing power. And where does it come from? It comes from the digital infrastructure. So I think in the future, China and Indonesia, we can work more on the building digital infrastructure. Yes.
That's
in Indonesia, around 70% of the population can access the internet. As you know, the internet is one of the very important component of the digital infrastructures. So we need to improve the access to 100% or 99% of Indonesia in general, so that the SMEs can be developed more. But another challenge is that in the case of Indonesia is that the quality of the internet. You know, to have better digital economy, we need
5G.
5G and so on. So it is also still a challenge in Indonesia. So I just saw the one of the big companies this morning. They are talking about the 1 Gbps access. The bandwidth, 1 Gbps. Right. You know, I said in my home I'm still using 30 Mbps, and that is one of the good ones. So you can imagine in rural areas in Indonesia, it needs improvement in terms of the digital infrastructure, like the internet. So with that, I think we can collaborate, assisting with each other between the two countries in terms of developing those infrastructure.
So you think that's where the Chinese company and Indonesian companies can work together to better with the technology?
Yes, as you said, in this network is one of the basic component of progressing in our current world. And despite even if you have the technology, if you don't have the network, you don't have the collaboration with other countries, you will have the problem in developing the technology, right? And then you will have the problem in benefiting from that.
Yes.
So I think whether you like it or not, we have to cooperate with each other, right? Between Chinese companies, Chinese in general, with Indonesian companies, Indonesian government, or Indonesians in general, including us, like professors, right?
But I would like to highlight also the collaboration not only in the physical infrastructure of this digital aspect, but also in the non-physical, like governance and data protection. This kind of is very delicate, and maybe have to check our own legal system. And I think there should be some negotiation and collaboration between countries, either Indonesia-China bilateral or ASEAN-China, to create a better good governance for this digital economy. I think it's also an important way to do.
Yeah, I'm happy to report we are already contributing in our small ways to the ASEAN digital community. So there
with
are
the standard aspect?
So there are volumes being putting together led by Indonesian, in fact, Jakarta-based think tank about digital community, ASEAN digital community, and we are contributing to the China chapter, where we can share Chinese experience, because the different countries are at different stages of development. Like you said, there has to be some conditions. You first have to meet these conditions, like infrastructure, like basic literacy, network. You need to have stable and affordable network before you need to have smartphone. You need to have basic literacy. Otherwise, there's no accessibility, there's no willingness or ability to use. So all these preconditions need to be met first. Then we talk about, okay, how we govern this. Have the safety, privacy issue, and data sharing. All these things. And China is probably at a slightly more advanced stage, but our past experience, successful and some not so successful experience, will all be of some use or reference for you and for other countries. And then you can identify what the constraints or the bottlenecks that are confronting you, and then we can work together. In the end, internet or network is about everyone's connected, right? And how we can manage this better in the sense that our region or the whole planet, the whole world can benefit. It is definitely the way we can work together.
So with advanced technology, we've seen OpenAI and Sora like this. So how can both countries collaborate in terms of artificial intelligence to make it like better and can be applied in multiple scenarios, and for example, manufacturing and also other aspects?
I think it's another step of the collaboration, because maybe in China the AI is already very advanced, but in Indonesia it's still very limited. So maybe this is where this collaboration between universities is very important. So to build human resources first in order to support this kind of industry. And I understand China have a very advanced AI technologies. This is where Indonesia could learn. So we need to send more students and professors to learn more in China, and especially those from this aspect of engineering and electrical engineering.
Like in the research part.
Apart from the technicalities or according to Professor Evie, the physical aspect of all of this technology, we also need to also think about what is the relationship between us as humans with all of those advancement of technology. I think one of the biggest issue in the near future is about the ethical issue, right?
The governance.
The governance of the issue. And apart from that, because we are talking about cooperation, governance could be a very sensitive issue. Ethic can be a sensitive issue. Then it will require the mutual understanding, mutual trust between the two countries at all levels, governmental levels, society levels, and also companies or business level. So I think there are a lot to think about, a lot to research about. There we can provide, education, like professors, researchers can provide better and better contribution in making sure that all of this cooperation can be beneficial in the end to our people, right? That is the end of that, right?
Yes, but you got to set up something at first, like to make everyone on the same page.
Yes.
Yes. So what's your opinion on this? What about the AI cooperation between China and Indonesia?
I think the most important thing to do is to, just like I said, to build the digital infrastructure, because whether it is cloud computing or big data or AI, it all depends on the infrastructure. And I agree with you about the governance. I think the data protection is very important now, and we should put that in our cooperation. Yes.
That's very insightful. And Professor Hannah, you just mentioned about mutual trust. So after President-elect Prabowo Subianto, who will assume office later this year, I think many are concerned with a broader aspect of China-Indonesia collaboration in the new era. So what are your expectations? Because President Joko Widodo has done a lot, so that's why people are very care about bilateral ties.
I would say that the last April visit was a very good gesture, positive and good gesture from the two leaders of the countries. although the president-elect will be sworn in this coming October, but he is also in charge of Indonesian defense so far, right?
Yes.
So his capacity of his leadership capacity is shown in here. So I think with that in mind, I think that the future relationship will be maintained. And of course, as I have said before, that in many places that there will be some nuances, right? Because different leaders could have several different approaches. But I think the basic character, the basic policies would remain the same. I said, if I am asked by the media, what will be the future policies of Indonesia toward China in this new incoming administration, I think the basic will be the same because of three reasons. One is that the president-elect has the programs, the basic programs that require him to maintain good relationship with big powers like China and the United States. That's number one. Including, for instance, he is aiming at building Indonesian economy at least at the same growth level as now, which is 5%, right? If possible, to make it even higher. That's number one. Number two, Indonesian public demands that the current phase of development has been put forward by the current president should be continued. Yeah, the development of infrastructures, including cooperation in AI, the strategic partnership between countries that can be benefit for the public should be continued. With that in mind, that Indonesian public is also demanding that whatever cooperation, whatever policies that can be benefit to them should be continued, right? And last but not least is that the president-elect has promised that he would continue the current president's policy. So with that three factors, I think I am confident that the basic, the general policies between the two countries will be continued, particularly in terms of international relations, bilateral relations between the two countries, also in terms of economic and social cooperation between the two countries.
I see. Do you foresee what will be the major aspects for the economic policy for the president-elect?
Yes, yeah, economic. I think whoever the president actually in Indonesia, he should put economy as one of the biggest program for them. But as you know that achieving good economic policies, achieving good economic cooperation will require two other things. One is mutual understanding, right?
Yes.
Number two, the social and political stability,
yes,
right? Therefore, if you are having good economic cooperation, you also will need good mutual understanding between the two countries, and also the stability. Stability here in terms of Indonesian and Chinese relationship is the stability at the domestic level and also at the regional level in Southeast Asia and in Indonesia. So both are, I think, gearing toward the continuing of the current good policies.
That's very comprehensive.
May I add one?
Yes,
Because Professor Jay mentioned mostly about domestic, but I also would like to add some more from external factors that will lead Indonesia and China maintain a very good relation. The first one already mentioned a little bit about the stability of the region. Indonesia, as a leader of ASEAN, the biggest country in ASEAN, and China has become the has drive the collaboration with ASEAN, China, and ASEAN +3 very strongly in the last decades. So it's important to keep maintaining this path, especially because ASEAN, China now already embarked on the regional comprehensive economic partnership since 2021. So it's important for those two countries to maintain the same direction. And the second one, because of Indonesian policy of independence and active, this is the principle of Indonesian foreign policy, it's important for Indonesia to have China as our good friends, as an alternative of other major powers. As you know, there are a lot of major powers in the country, and everyone would like to influence more. There are a lot of geopolitical competition in Southeast Asia, in East Asia, even in the world. So it is very important for Indonesia also to to maintain a good relation with those major powers, including China. China as not only as an alternative, but also as a very confident friend, partners for Indonesia, dealing with a lot of regional and global problems. So I would like to add these two external or international factors. Thank you.
That's very profounding. What about you, Professor? Can you speak good Indonesian?
Well,
and you were also involved in the discussion. So what's your take on this?
Well, I totally agree with what they said. I think they showed that the foundations or the fundamentals are very strong, and we can see that this will be continued. And also, a goodwill goes a long way. I think based on this mutual understanding, we are good friends, good neighbors, and very good companions to each other. That China can play a very positive role for Indonesia's development, but also in the region as well. And I think by the same token, China can learn things from Indonesia. The Indonesians are not just at the receiving end, and there's a lot of things we can learn from the Indonesians.
Of course.
Indonesia should be very proud of what it has achieved over the past decades. Yeah, and I think as a scholar, I think we can do, at least with me and my colleagues, we are very much determined to contribute to the better understanding. We would like more Chinese to appreciate Indonesia, and hopefully more Indonesian friends will come and see China and gain an understanding about what China is all about. Maybe media, thank you for introducing this.
We'll try to create more opportunities like this.
Media is doing a great job, but maybe there's still room for improvement. But we can also contribute so that, like when you said that there are nuances along the way, we will never be always agree with each other. At those kind of moments, our understanding about the longer shared future will make better sense. Then we understand how we deal with the temporary issues at hand, and I think then we will have a very sustainable and very mature, like a confident relationship.
Of course, that's a really great point that we have a lot to learn from Indonesia, given what you have achieved in the past decades. So since our time is limited, but still I want to ask you several final questions. Tomorrow you'll be going back, I think. If you can come next time, what will be the thing you want to do? You only visit 3 cities this time. So what's for the next? What's your expectation for your next trip to China?
If I plan to go to China, I really want to go to Xinjiang.
Xinjiang?
Yeah, Xinjiang.
That's worth sightseeing.
Yeah, that's why a lot of people say it is a very beautiful place. That's the first one. And the second, I would like to know a lot about China inland, because I have traveled to China maybe more than 15 times since 1998, mostly on the coastal cities. I went to Chengdu, I went to Hunan last year, but I really would like to go further, go to Xinjiang and also to experience another part of China. And the second one, I would really would like to collaborate more with Chinese professor and lecturer in different universities and think tanks, because for me it's important to have this people-to-people connection, because the trust that become the foundation of our country is actually start with people, right? We have a good relation with the government, but we should also have a very good relation between people, because this is the foundation. Government is only what, 5 years, 10 years, that's it. They will change. But people is important. So mutual understanding between people is important, and we start with education. So this is what I would like to maybe to take my students and also do some more research with professors in Peking University or other university in China. That's
Very
what I would like to do.
Looking forward to this. Professor Hana?
Yeah, I would like to bring more of the delegates, particularly my students and other colleagues who are interested in not only social and cultural development of China or economic development of China. I think we need more Indonesian experts on technicalities, technology, green economy, green technologies, EV, and so on and so forth, from universities and others to come to China to educate themselves about understanding understanding China from China's perspective. So that will be a very, very important point. So I hope in the next visit, if I have the chance opportunities to come again, I would get something to say to China. Look, we have been coming to you a few years ago or a few months ago. Now I can report to you that we have this kind of progress and so on and so forth. But again, China is a huge country. We, Indonesia, consider our country is huge, but yours is even much more than that. We have 17,000 islands with around 300 million people, but you have 1.4 million. You have thousands and thousands of histories that are very well preserved, right? So I think what we have done in this very short trip is only a very tiny bit of the taste of China. So I think we need more of that.
Thank you so much. I really love to hear more of your insights, but given we have a limited time, we may have to conclude here. But thank you so much
for
your insights,
you.
for your
Thank you.
very excellent opinions and perspectives and sharing about your trips here and also your insights on the bilateral ties. And again, very looking forward to seeing you again here in beautiful campuses like Peking University and probably in other cities for your next time. So that will be end of our conversation today, and then like I just said, I'm really looking forward to more conversations and like to roundtable discussions like this in the future. But thank you so much for watching, and bye for now.
Thank you for
Thank
having
you.
us.
Thank you.